Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience Podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions. That's who absolutely transformed Denny Snyder's life.
That's right.
I mean, and for you it was Rich Watkins, right? I mean, there's this legacy of these great men here that have had massive influence on you, Coach Snyder. You know, it's pretty cool.
Well, it's amazing if you look at the legacy of the coaching tree, right? So Chick Embry was the head coach. Denny Snyder was the head coach. Mm-hmm. Rob Gilster was my head coach, mm-hmm. and coach from the Valley Center. And then obviously now I'm the head coach here at Escondid Charter. So this legacy of God's blessing on people through coaching is undeniable. I mean, it's his hand, it's his blessing. I love that passage in John 15 where it says, I am the vine, you are the branches. Apart from me, you can do nothing, right? So when you look at that coaching tree, we know all those coaches prior to me that I've learned and I've stolen from and I've gleaned from, and I've just been blessed to be under their coaching lineage.
Right.
They're part of the big vine, the heavenly coach. Yeah. And it's so evident in our town of Escondido that there's such a legacy of faith through coaching in our town of loving kids and loving families.
It's that script you cannot write.
You can't.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but thank you for the compliment. It's all Praise the Lord.
So let's talk about today.
Okay.
So you leave classical and you come to charter.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, opportunity. I think to me, when I look at the dynamics and demographics of Escondido and what families are desperately looking for, I just saw opportunity here. Love the families, love the athletes at classical to this day. A lot of my nephews are playing football there. I had two daughters that graduated from there after I left, right? So all this stuff there at classical with kids and families, it's a beautiful community of people in that community. When I looked at charter, and here's the truth of it, when you look at some of the charter schools, I love what charter does here. They take kids from the neighborhoods. It's right here. Our campus looks like Escondido.
I agree.
Demographically wise. And so when I saw that and then the needs here, I look at our families where we have 60% of our kids on campus that are eligible for free and reduced lunch, right? The kids taking buses to places. I had a kid walk 4 miles to get to practice, right? So all these things are happening in this community. These are the moments that I'm really seeking to have influence and opportunity to love kids that were me, right? I didn't grow up in a Christian home. I didn't grow up with, all the things that like my kids are getting today. So my heart honestly goes to the kids that were me when I was that age. And that's why I'm here. I'm also here because of the leadership here. That's huge. I mean, they're probably even. The kids and families here that I'm here for, the leadership here. I don't think there's another school, and I definitely say this in Escondido, I might even be able to say this in the nation. I don't think there's another school that's going to stand up for virtue and for truth and for what's best for kids and what's best for their families and the hearts of those kids and families. Sean Roner is a tremendous leader. The best leader I've worked for in my educational career, and I've worked for some really good ones. State Superintendents of the Year. My best friends are Ron McCowan. He's a great leader. I've worked with some really great leaders. Right. Sean Roner is by far the best leader I've ever worked for. He has such a heart for his staff, such a heart for kids, such a heart for families. There's not a better one out there.
Yeah, I agree. So you come to charter and you absolutely are like a thunderbolt. I mean, this place turns around and the kids are energized. I mean, it's amazing.
Well, it's funny.
Absolutely
you say, my first year, I've never had a 3-7 season my whole career. I've never had. And it was ironic because I'm like 3-7. My goodness, this is hard work. 13 kids. I think the first year we got him up to 58 kids in the program the first year. But 3-7, the whole campus was like a buzz. Like we're champions. Like, no, we didn't make the playoffs. We went 3-7.
That's what you took over.
Yeah.
That's why I'm trying to explain this to you, man. It's hard to quantify.
Yeah, and you look back at that first year, it's really weird because we had won more games that first year than we had won in the last, I think, 37 games. Yeah. So going back 4 years, right? So 3 games in one season were more wins than the last 4 years combined.
Right.
It's like, okay, that's it. And then this thing called COVID hits.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, that's really weird. I made this move to come here, building a program, and now we have to have an off year.
Right.
We didn't play football the next year until April.
Yeah.
And
I remember.
We had 3 games, if you remember this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, okay, now we're starting from scratch over, and now my program went from 58 kids to 58 kids. I thought we'd make a big bump.
Right.
And then COVID hit.
Well, you survived. I mean, so COVID hits, and you and I are talking.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember this or not, but you and I are talking, and I'm like, Coach, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? Right?
Right.
And you're like, okay, come talk to the team.
Yeah,
Like,
that's right.
You're going to have me come talk to the team?
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, come talk to the team. I want you to talk to them about courage.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
And so I come out,
yes.
and I'm down there on the practice field.
6 yards or 6,
and it's
6 feet apart,
yeah,
2 yards apart.
Yeah. And it's raining like crazy. Like we got drowned.
Yeah.
And these kids are still out there practicing, doing their thing.
Yeah.
And I'm standing there going, this is a little dumb. I'm standing out here getting soaked.
Yeah.
But I'm not leaving. They're not leaving.
No.
Right? So I
No.
stood out there and I got soaked. And then we had a break in the weather, and you flagged me, you waved me over.
Yeah.
So I go over and I get in front of him, and I'm literally standing there going, Coach wants me to talk to you about courage, and you're the personification of it.
Oh.
You kids are courage.
Yeah.
Okay? Think about this.
Yeah.
They have no idea if they're going to have a season. They have no idea if they're going to play a game, and yet they're out there putting it on the line and going after it every single day.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's your leadership. I mean, it's okay, but they're doing it because they believe in you. They believe in what you're doing. They believe in the mission, and they're out there. I mean, I was moved, right? I'm literally standing there going, these kids are drowned rats right now, and they're not slowing down one iota. They're not. There's no ease up. There's no nothing. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I'm literally out there going, look, you're the personification of courage. You're the walking, talking courage, right? And I'm like, what I want you to do, if you remember, what I want you to do, your call to action, is look around you. Because if you look around you, you'll find courage in everyday people. Okay, the guy that has to get into a wheelchair to come to school every day. All these things that people that have comorbidities and yet they're still coming to school. Okay, all that's courage.
Yeah.
Go find it. Go recognize it and appreciate it. Right. That's what we talked about.
So good.
Okay.
Yeah, so good.
And it was one of the coolest things that's ever happened to me in my life. No joke. I was so honored to do it. And I absolutely knew after that experience that this was going to be an amazing thing for the next few years. I knew it. And the next season it was, and it was, and you're off and running.
Yeah. It was interesting that COVID year, because we had worked with Kristen Gaspar, the county supervisor, to get kids back out in the field.
Right.
So the ministry we run in town called Play as One, and then obviously the high school, they were kind of running neck and neck together. How do we get kids out, getting exercise, getting fresh air?
Get them out of the house.
Yeah, so we started doing that from August through September. We thought maybe football would start, late September, October, and we didn't get the green light to April, right? So we had just kept practicing, following all the county protocols, all the county procedures. I mean, I remember being with the mask on and squirt bottles and shoot, just so we could get kids out there. Yeah. It didn't matter to me what it took, as long as we could get kids out there getting exercise and being together in the community.
That was the best thing you could have done.
And then having people like you and Coach Snyder and Dennis Beatty, I mean, we had probably this gamut of speakers just coming out and investing in kids because they need to hear other people's voices. Yeah. They have their parents at home, which should be their primary voice. God willing, the families are raising them the way they should go. Right. So when they grow old, they won't depart from it. And then they have coaches' voices. But you got to let youngsters hear voices because they start hearing the same voice, because truth is truth. There's not your truth and my truth. There's the truth.
Right.
And so having people come out and speak truth to them, they start realizing this is truth.
It reinforces it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, if it's okay, let's talk about Play as One.
Okay.
So how did Play as One? I mean, I know it's big. I know it's your heart.
Yeah.
How did Play as One come about? So just take us through how did this happen?
Yeah. I think this whole podcast is really in my mind, because I don't really sit down and share my thoughts all in order like this in the timeline. It's been really a gift to me. So thank you for having me on this, because
Thanks for doing it.
I'm listening to this story as I'm sharing. I'm like, oh, that's what God was doing there. Because God writes a story in suffering.
Absolutely.
Romans 5 says suffering leads to perseverance, perseverance leads to character, and character leads to hope. And I love saying, if we know there's hope in the future, There's power right now in the present, despite the suffering, despite dad leaving you, despite Smokey dying of cancer, despite sharing a TV dinner. So you
don't look hard enough.
Yeah.
Right?
So I look back at the story. I started doing camps at Valley Center called Jack Camp way back in the day, and I was just helping out at camp. Was just coaching kids and loving working with kids. Got my first head coaching job, and I think, why am I doing camps and not saying Jesus? So we started a camp here in town at Emmanuel Faith Community Church and started doing kids camp for football.
And how long ago was that?
2014.
Okay.
That's when Players
so
One
this
was
is 9 years ago.
Yeah, when it was born. Yeah, we're going to year 10 right now. So started doing camps. That's great. Camps are great. We'll do camps every year for a week in summer. We get registration money in, and I would just pay my high schoolers literally cash after camp is over. Thanks for volunteering. I give them money after camp, and money was all gone, and we just went on. Never took a dime of it. Right. It was odd enough. I did discover I had to pay taxes on it, so I actually lost money doing these camps because you had to pay taxes on the money that got brought in.
Right.
So I was like, okay, I probably need to rethink how I'm doing these. But as we did camp 14, 15, and then the year 2016, we had a shooting in town. I don't know if you remember this.
I do. Actually.
A woman coming home from church got caught in the crossfire of two gang members shooting over tagging rights on Grand. Yeah. Late.
I have a listing right down the street.
Okay, so you remember the story well. And so I remember sitting in my office, I was just praying for this woman and her family, then the grieving of the family. And then my heart started getting moved. Didn't know what was coming. God did kind of say, you lost 3 lives that night, not just one. And I'm like, okay, the husband probably had some kids. And I felt like the Lord saying, no, you're not hearing me. The woman that got shot, and then the 2 kids that were gang members that lost their lives that night for making a bad decision. And we talk about the actions, they're fully responsible for it, but they have stories behind them. What if they had a transformational coach come in their life and they could coach them and they help them have a Rich Watkins in their life. They can mold them, have a Denny Stein in their lives, have a Sean Roner in their life,
a Chick Embry,
a Rob Gilster. I mean, the list goes on. What if those 2 young men had one of those coaches that I, for whatever reason, was gifted to have, that changed the trajectory of my life from one thing to another thing? And so the Lord started working in my heart. And then about a couple weeks later, 3 weeks later, FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, the chairman of the board, a guy by the name of Bruce Williams, who coincidentally randomly paid for me and my wife to go to the Cove for the marriage retreat. Same guy. Odd coincidence? No, it's a God incident, right? You hear that. So he comes to my office. He said, John, how you doing? Colin Sinclair brought me out here. I want to hear what God's doing with you. So I sit down with my office and I start sharing my heart. This shooting. I think we can do more with youth sports. I think we can do arts. I think we can do vocation. I think, God willing, one day we can have a discipleship training center where it's all about Jesus and we do all of this together. And he's listening to me. I think, oh God, I'm boring this guy because I'm just talking. Probably a lot like I'm doing right now, just vomiting all these ideas. And
you're not vomiting.
And
there's no vomiting happening here.
And he said this. He's sitting down. He's writing some notes. He's quiet at me. I'm looking at him. I get done, and then he starts talking, and he starts going 10 times faster than I was going. He's like, oh, this and this, and you should do this. And I'm like, I'm writing notes down. I'm like, well, okay, yeah. And so he challenges me. He said, God's calling you to build this. Go do it. And I'm like, Bruce, I'm a high school football coach. I almost lost my marriage, to football. I mean, I'm trying to redo this differently now. I'm trying to recalibrate, reboot, and restart 2.0 coaching model. And he writes a check for $10,000, says, go start this. So we buy uniforms that first year. We buy some advertisements in the community. We hit the little, realtor signs on the ground and say here. And we take signups to a Google Doc. That's all we did. It was a Google form. And we get like 100 families that first year. And to be exact, it was 87 families coming out for Players One, football and basketball. And now, year 2023, we've served over 3,000 families in the community. So 87 to 3,000. It's been phenomenal work that God's been doing. Our hope in Players One is simply this. We use the acronym SAVE. S for sports, A for arts, V for vocation, and E for education. We're actually launching on September 11th our first Ballard Training Discipleship Center. We have 4 families participating in this year. They're going to get a coach that's going to walk through them, because we really believe that the moment we do this and we say it's a school or we say it's a league is the moment parents advocate their roles, knowingly or not knowingly, say, go educate my son or my daughter. We're saying, families, we're doing this together. We're going to lock arms with you as a mom and dad. We're going to love you as the parent. We're going to love your children together. And we're going to help you raise your child the way they should go. We go back to Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 5. It's so good. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. And this says, when you wake up in the morning, talk with your children about these things. When you walk along the side of the road, talk to them about who I am. When they go to bed, keep talking about this. We're just bringing families back to who they're meant to be in Christ. And so Valley Training Center launches September 11th. Appreciate your prayers on it as we go and impact families. We believe God's going to do something really amazing in this. There's an IMG Academy in Florida. It's all sports, no Jesus. And we really believe God's calling us to create IMG in California, in Escondido, California. And it's not all sports, it's all Jesus. And we're going to use the idol of sport and arts and vocation education, and we're going to give them Christ, and we're going to see God do some really amazing things here in Escondido.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Play as One.
That is really cool.
Yeah, Play as One.
So if anybody wants more information on Play as One, where can they go to get more information?
Yeah, you can start by reading John chapter 17 in the Bible.
Okay.
That's where you can start. That's the best place. That Jesus prayed for us to be one, as he and the Father are one, so that the world would know that he was sent by God.
Okay.
That's number one. That's where Play as One comes from. John 17, being unified. One town, one team, one dream, one prayer. Right. The second place you can go, you obviously go to playas1.org.
Okay.
They're all spelled out, playas1.org, and you can see all the information. We're getting ready to launch fall sports right now. We got soccer going, we got dance going, we got robotics going, we got guitar going, we got cosmetology, CTE class for high schoolers.
That's
so they can get their certificate in cosmetology, and they can go from school to career. Versus some kids will go to school to college to career. We're training them on how to use cosmetology. And the beautiful thing about cosmetology, it's odd. I'm a football coach. We're talking about hair and makeup.
Right.
It's weird. It's so weird. Same with dance. It's one of those weird things. But we're just reclaiming space. That's all we're doing. Is saying this space belongs to the Lord. And if you like to learn what it means to do cosmetology for Christ, they're going to learn how to do all the hair and makeup, and they're going to learn how to show the faith. And then at the end of the session, they're going to do a culminating event where they're going to help shut-ins or widows and go paint their nails and do their hair at a retirement home here in town. So really taking something that seems kind of like wouldn't work and saying, Jesus, would you put your hand on this and be who you are in it? So really,
this vocational thing is a real need.
Yeah,
there's a real gap right now
dirty jobs. Yeah,
because of all the cutbacks in budgets and all that kind of thing.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of vocational education out there, so this is a real need out there.
That's right.
That's awesome.
And so we just find champions, people that love Jesus, who love kids and families, and love cosmetology. Kobe Farmer's our cosmetologist. She's a licensed cosmetologist. She's great. Jason Young and Bryant White did robotics. So you have a NASA engineer and you have a cybersecurity guy teaching robotics. I mean, couldn't be any better guys doing it. Guitar, you got Ben Coleman and Michael Deneve that are on guitar. Becky Dean doing dance. Isaac Trevisan doing soccer. You got Rebecca Bouchon doing volleyball in the spring. I coach football in the spring as well. And then you got Dr. Emmett Lee, who's a family doctor, loves basketball, and he's teaching basketball during the winter. So there's so many more offerings I'm forgetting. Sorry, people, if you listen to this, I didn't say your name.
It's all right.
But there's so many things that God's doing through sports, arts, vocation, education.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
I just like to say to this guy on the podcast right now, thank you for all you do. He said anything I can do to help, but he is almost like asking me weekly, what can I do to serve? What can I do to help? And I appreciate that heart. That's really what Jesus did when he said, I'm going to wash the disciples' feet. I'm going to serve. And I'm just so grateful for that example and your friendship all these years. I had no idea when I met you on that field. I think it was 5 years ago, actually, because this is going in our 5th year.
Yeah.
You came on the field, you introduced yourself to me, and I was in the middle of practice, didn't know who you were, trying to fill out what's going on, trying to run practice with 13 kids. It was a spring ball practice. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for serving our kids here at Escondid Charter. And I know you do it all throughout Escondido, but you are a gift to our town, and you're a gift to me personally. So thank you for what you do. Grateful for your friendship.
Thank you, bud. I love you, brother.
Yeah, I'm gonna hug you.
Thanks for being here.
I love you too. Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out calendly.com/Rio760.